Hello, everyone. All right. So I am super excited to bring this podcast to you as a part of our Women in Business series this year. These two ladies are going to join us today and talk about some of the more tactical pieces that some of us crave in business, but sometimes are a little leery to ask. And so Michele and Julie are going to join us today and talk about not only the processes that some of us should, I don't like to should on people, but should have in business, and then the benefits of maybe having the female perspective when it comes to having a coach and maybe even an EOS coach in your business. So,
did you take a deep breath today? In our crazy lives of home and work, business ownership, side hustle, working for someone else, running our households, chasing our dreams, getting through our daily to-do list, most of us lose track of what we wanted, what we dream of, or what we're even capable of. My name is Frye, and I have built my business on helping others see what they're capable of, put their vision for their teams into action, and to work through the stuck that they have found themselves in. Teams that have great potential but don't know how to work together to be amazing since they haven't quite gotten their special sauce right. We talk tough, real, tactical, health, wellness, and even a little fun. I learn business in the trenches, and this isn't business from a book. This is what's worked for me, what hasn't worked, and might kickstart a new thought for you, a little perspective change. It might even inspire you. Get ready to think straight, dream big, get out of your box, and take a deep breath. This is the Oxygen Podcast.
Julie and Michele, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
Right. So let's jump right in so that we can give everybody the most amount of content possible today. So my first question for you is going to be a little broad before we dive super deep, but what do you guys, you ladies, think about actually having a coach, whether it's in business or in another facet of your life? I love to start with this question because I feel like everybody has a different thought. What do you think about having a coach in your life?
Well, Julie, if you don't mind, yeah, jump in and then you finish. But I think everyone that's great does. Like if you have anybody, an athlete, Elon Musk, anybody that is done well and even not famous, done well, have coaches. And I think that's the one thing that we have to kind of wrap our heads around. I think people think, well, I've got to show that I got it. I got to have it all. And I've got to perceive that. And if I get a coach or arguably even a psychiatrist, right, that's a weakness. And that's not good, right? A psychiatrist is just as good as a coach too, right? And I think that is a big thing to kind of wrap our heads around, that a lot of people have them more than you think they do. And then I think it guides us and it gives us the space and structure that we need to kind of reflect on things, right? Reflect on life, reflect on our business, reflect on our employees. Where are we going? How are we going to get there? And I think that is the talent, or should be, if you're looking for a good one, the talent of a coach that will be able to get there. We can see things from the outside that others can't. I was an athlete back in the day, and I was amazed at the movements that coach would make. And I'm like, why is she doing that? And then I'm like, the game completely shifted when she did it. And I was like, oh, okay, we're going to go with it. You know, as a player in the field, you just don't see it. And I think that's the same thing for our businesses. So.
Absolutely. I don't want to repeat everything Michele just said. I totally agree. Also coming out of playing basketball in college, I hear you and the importance of having a coach. I think the whole thing is, I remember my coach saying, you cannot coach yourself from inside a bottle. So you can't see what you can't see when you're in it. And so when you have somebody else that's on the outside, that's going to honestly in your corner, right, but also going to give you some brutal truth as you need it, that can just help you take yourself to the next level. And regardless of where you're at, there's always room to improve. And it's just great to have that person that's you can kind of reflect some of those things that you're dealing with to somebody that knows you, that cares about you and wants to help you reach your full potential. And so absolutely, the times when I didn't have a coach were the times when I was the most stagnant. And so having a coach is absolutely the key to to being successful and whatever you define success as.
Yeah. It's ironic when you when you're working with someone and you ask them, hey, were you in some kind of organized sport or did you have a coach as a young person? You can almost identify it ahead of the game before they answer you, right? They were coached as a young person, how they behave as an adult, right? I think that I've had quite a few people say even, well, you don't have to be an athlete to be successful in business. And I think that is appropriate. But if you've been a part of the orchestra and you've had a great band instructor, or you've had a director or some kind of organized group as a young person, I think it's really important as parents that we realize your child needs to be involved in something for that exact reason.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed.
It also teaches you how to play well with others. So it's also an important skill set we need to have.
What is the line? You learn the most important things in kindergarten. Maybe
Right.
we would be all well if we kept that in mind. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Right.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit more of that part and take it into business. So I think that there are a lot of owners, executives, managers that think it's lonely at the top and that's appropriate. They may even think that going into a hard time, right? We hear a lot about our economy potentially taking a little bit of a downturn, or really even if it's your own business and you know you're about to go into a struggling time, now's not the time to get a coach. It's okay that I'm alone. It's okay that I'm struggling. What do you think when you hear that? What is your first thought when that comes?
So summer of 2020, right? We're smack dab in the middle of this pandemic. And I looked around and I'm like, I am all alone. And I don't have anybody to bounce any ideas off of. And it was a really difficult, dark time. And I know I'm not the only business owner that was struggling with that. And so, yeah, where were you when I needed you?
And I was alone too. I guess I raised my hand, Jewel. For those of you who are listening, I was on both sides of that. I mean,
yeah. And it's so personally, I mean, I've gone through it and struggled through that. Earlier this year, I was talking to a business owner. They were struggling with some technical parts of their process. And we started having this question, talked about the process. And I'm like, so how's your culture? And he's like, not very good. I'm like, how are you? And he's like, I'm exhausted. How's your team? They're exhausted. I said, look, we can't fix your process until we fix you. And just really had a really frank conversation with him. And he said, I need you because I need someone that I can talk to because I'm alone and I can't show this vulnerability to the rest of my organization. So I think that's part of it is if we're going into a potential recession, or I guess whatever, we can decide if we are or not. Now's the time. You've got a little extra time to think, and you've got someone that can bounce some ideas off. So when that crisis does happen, you've already got that relationship established.
I love that. It's a great perspective.
Yeah, I'm with Julie. I think there's so many things that coaches can bring, but I think that the honest is team health, right? And so it gets back to Julie's point is if you're not, if the plane's going down, put your mask on first and help the others. You can't help the others as leaders if we're not healthy and there. And how do we get there? So, the whole fake it till you make it can last only so long, right? You just cannot keep paddling like a duck, right? You cannot look like you're running smoothly and underneath it's, 600 miles an hour. Not forever, right? There's a sustainable part of that. But I think that's really what it is during these times, it's kind of what you got to lean in and get the help you need and be able to come out the other end even better, right? I think that's what it's all about. More is better than your competition, better than when you were going in, just better as a husband or a father or, whatever, right? There's lots of things that it has effects on. So it's not the time to back off, but.
Yeah. Lean in.
It's interesting to me when we face economic situations like we are, no matter what you think, we're going up, going down, staying stagnant, whatever. I think there's a lot of people who don't give ourselves, all of us included, enough credit that we have just recently been through a pretty significant pandemic, and all of us pivoted, right? When Julie, we said summer of 2020, my business took a massive pivot in 2020 as well. And fortunately, I did well, right? So my business did well through the pandemic, but not everybody can say that. There's you should give yourself some credit that you've made it this far, whether you're exhausted or doing well or whatnot. But then there's also this really important piece that going into whatever change we're about to have happen, structure is the good thing to adhere to in wherever we're going, even if it's down into a recession. Why is that?
Okay, Michelle, I'm gonna take this one if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
So here's the thing: when you're going into a difficult time, you don't reduce chaos by creating chaos. So when you have structure on how you run your business and it's already set, then when you start to have problems in there, you've got the tools to fall back on, and you can be really resilient and work together as a team to solve those issues. And whether it's you as an individual or you in a company, just that structure gives you something to lean back on, and it's just that comfort that it's okay. I know how to do this. I have the tools in place to be really successful. So don't try to reduce your chaos by creating more chaos.
Reducing chaos doesn't necessarily mean be cheap.
Well, there's that too.
Right? Like, I think that if I can translate what you're saying at all, because sometimes I think as business owners, we have to hear the blunt message, right? There's a lot of cost savings in spending. My dad would say, don't trip over a dime to pick up a penny. And that was a hard message for me to learn. I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? But paying someone who is unemotionally attached to your business has been down a road that, that your business isn't my baby, your business is your baby. Letting us help you put those structures in will in the end save you money, because you're not clamoring over it and you're not trying to pump life into something that's not going to work. So
yeah, absolutely.
Okay, Julie. So before we got started, you said to me, hey, check this thing out on my wall. So what is this thing on your wall before I ask you the next?
My patent wall. I have a patent that I sometimes I don't talk about it as much as maybe I should. It's just, I always wanted a patent. Even as a little girl, it was something I always wanted. So I came up with something when I started my business to kind of create some subject matter expertise in, and it costs a lot of money, but it's here now. And it really has, thank you. So it's one of those things that I worked really hard to accomplish, and I feel really good about it. And I would say, just to turn this around and not make this about me, we can create anything we want to create. As we're talking to women business owners right now, which is where my passion is, and don't be limited by what's out there. Go out and find your path. That means you could be a patent, but it also could be a business idea that no one's ever thought of before. And just use that and lean into that creativity, and don't get stuck in these traditional ways of how to earn money.
So I love that. And I asked you, hey, what kind of engineer are you? And by the time you were done answering me, you said, I'm a process engineer. Tell me more about how that helps another business owner.
So my training is as a process engineer, chemical engineer trained, but I became a process engineer. So what I do is I figure out the fastest way to get from point A to point B. I can see the obstacles, and then I'm already working on how to get rid of the obstacles. And so this is about, hey, speed and efficiency on getting to where you want to get to, which is why I love EOS. So my little segue in there.
Sometimes we are our biggest obstacle, right? And I think that that's a huge advantage to specifically working with women. Well, I'm just going to throw it in there, right? A woman's perspective is unique. And I think that it gets lost in the minutia of day-to-day business because nobody wants to talk about it. But women have a unique perspective on when they look at business and they twist it around like a Rubik's Cube and say, hey, but look here. Okay. How is being a female implementer in EOS shown you that really is your superpower?
Michele, do you want to answer that?
Sure. I think the biggest thing that I feel like so I can't speak for all women, right? But I bring in is what I call my tribe mentality, right? I mean, I think it really comes with us in a natural way, is that we're inclusive, right? We're collaborative. And I think that can come into any women run business or any woman on a leadership team, is how do we bring that? And not that is a skill that we don't think is often. And that's what I always kind of lean into with women that talk about it, is we have this passion, people call it, EQ, right? And emotional intelligence. And we have these spidey senses. I joke around with it from an emotional standpoint, but it's really like, what does the tribe need? And we can pick up on that so quickly. And then you put Julie's superpower with the process, and you take humans and you take process and put it together, and it's unstoppable, right? When you have those two superpowers that come together. So I think that is what I would say, as a female implementer, what we bring differently to that is that need foresight probably into a tribe mentality.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Michele. I think we do bring a different perspective into the session room, and it is like what's really going on here. But I think another benefit is that, and this is also for male business owners and female business owners, is we can say things that men typically can't say. And there's something about kind of turning around and looking straight at the owner of the company and calling him on his stuff or her stuff, and like, I'm unapologetically going to do it, but I'm going to do it in a way that they're going to hear it and their egos aren't going to be bruised. And so I think that ability to communicate in a direct way with a little bit of a softening of the words, but not the meaning. And I think that is one of my superpowers when I'm in the session room.
Yeah, I think that one of the best things that's come out of the last few years is we don't need to be like men. We need to be like women. And that is something we have to stand strong in our convictions of.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, ladies, what is the best piece of business advice that you would give to a woman or a man in business today that is listening to this recording and looking for that one little nugget, that one little takeaway? What is the one thing that you think, if you put out in the business world, what is a piece of business advice that you strongly put out?
The thing when I hear that question, Kat, the first thing that comes to mind is something that my coach said to me a number of years ago that's resonated with me many, many times, and I've used it with my clients, is just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's not valuable to your client. And sometimes we dismiss, like, oh yeah, I'm really good at that. And yeah, we kind of dismiss our superpowers, but just remember that just because it's easy for you doesn't mean it's not valuable to who you're sharing it with. So that would be mine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that, Julie. Yeah. That's a mic dropper right there.
Yeah, no way. No kidding. Right? Put this mic down, Julie. Wow.
Yeah, she's awesome. I told you.
I know. Way to go, Michele.
I told you. So I think this might come with some controversy. So it's kind of sometimes what we do, kind of what Julie said, is kind of enter the danger. I think maybe for women more have a more struggle with this than men. Do you want to be nice or do you want to be respected? And I guess that's where I would lean in to women in the business, right? Is kind of that you have to figure that out, and the whole duality of, if you're nice, are you respected? And then if you're respected, can people think you're nice, right? And so how does that work? And I think it's very different. And I think that as women, we want to be liked by everybody. It doesn't happen. I know that I have very select girlfriends. I'm a little bit like Julie, is I'm very open and honest. And, my girlfriend says, these jeans look, my behind look fat. And I'm like, yes. Right? I mean, right. I mean, I do it softer than that, right? But in the essence of time, right? But I think it is. And I think that that is the hard thing. And so I think that my girlfriends respect me. I think they think I'm nice too, because they're your girlfriends, right? They're really in your tribe. But they will always, they know where they stand and they will always get the truth from me. And I think that that's something that you have to decide where you want to be as you go on this journey of life, especially a woman, and arguably even like Julie, a woman in a man's world, right? As an engineer, that's a hard road to take sometimes in that respect.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I think that is a hard spot for women today. In fact, I was coaching earlier today, and I think that's today there is a place where we have to understand who your audience is and what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Are you there to motivate, and are you there to speak to women on an authentic basis, or are you there because people have asked you, hey, we need a blunt message, right? In what way are you going to put your message out? But in no arena is there space for people to not be authentic or to not be honest about the message that needs to be conveyed. There's not any space for that today.
And I think honestly, on that front, like, I think if we're true, and with Julie's point, like, yeah, maybe a little softer touch, but we owe it to ourselves to be open and honest to others, and they owe it to, right? I mean, it's kind of like, again, going back to me for that tribe, it's like, I want that, right? And I think we don't have, in this world of time and just everything coming, I'm looking at my calendar behind my Zoom thing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just killed myself this week, right? But it's like, I don't have necessarily time, and it's okay, right? But obviously you can't deliver it just right off the bat, but I think there's two of that is just in the essence of getting to the chase. We need to do that more often. I find myself, I open up my session rooms, the very first words that come out of my mouth and say, I will probably make you mad, and I am sorry. It comes from a place of love. It never comes from a place of hurt, right? But we only have so much time, guys. And I've got to be correct. I stumble over words when I try to beat around the bush, when I try to candy coat it. It's worse. I don't know, Julie, if this comes out worse for you. It literally comes out of my mouth so much worse. I'm like, that is not what I wanted to say. And that is not how I wanted to say it. But if I find myself just going direct into it, I'm like, well, that's exactly what I wanted to say. And I don't fumble around, right? So
you're a lot nicer, because what I say is, at some point today, I'm going to piss you off. That's the first thing I say, and I don't apologize for it.
I literally call myself the 6-foot mouthy blonde, and every training session, just so that you know, I'm fully aware of what this is and what this is the process. So you're not going to offend me if you tell me you don't like me. I already know.
Right.
I had the opportunity to collaborate with a number of other women in a book of what it was like to break cycles in women's lives, whatever that cycle looked like that you were trying to. One of the things that came out in that chapter was that our young people today are living in an information age. They have any piece of information at their fingertips, right? It's right here, right, have it, right? However, what they have to learn that you can't get from a device is the ability to collaborate. And in that collaboration are you going to be blunt? Are you going to be crass? Are you going to be the nice guy? Are you going to learn to, be in the gray area? What is that going to look like for you? And I think that that's what the next generation of people coming into business, or people having relationships, right? Are they going to have a better marriage statistic rate than we have right now, or whatever their world will look like? How will they collaborate and how will they communicate? Because it's not about getting information. It's how they're going to work together. That means that helps your business, that helps my business, but they have to figure that out. And we are a part of that education system. So, we'll see how that goes. All right, we'll get off our tirade now. Tell me, what is one of the self-care things that is most important to you going through having your personal lives, having a successful business portfolio? What is one of the self-care things that you have as a non-negotiable and you won't give up?
Well, I work out 6 days a week, so that's
Yes.
a huge part of that. But that's so much a part of me that I don't even consider it self-care. But what I've found is what I really need is time out in nature and giving myself permission to go out there. And so I took off Friday afternoon and I went mountain biking, and it was a beautiful day, and I got to see not any of the big mountains, but the kind of the smaller mountains where I live in the Northwest. And it was just, I'm like, oh, I can do all my thinking. I do my clarity breaks there, and just being alone in nature is really it's kind of my thing I need. So
I love that.
Yeah, mine's similar. It's I live in the Midwest, so it's pretty flat here, but it's beautiful in its own right. But it's what Julie talked to in the world of EOS, we call clarity breaks. I have found that those are vital to me. I'm an early morning person, so it's every Sunday morning at 7:00 in the morning. My husband knows that I am downstairs in my space. Leave me alone. I may do nothing. I may do everything. I don't really know, right? Sometimes I just don't even know what that morning is going to bring. And I think it is. And I think that we're able to, again, put on my mask first. That's what that's all about. So I can take care of others and make sure I'm going into my session consistent. Julie and I belong to another group that meets exactly after this meeting. How do I take care of that tribe, right? How am I showing up to that tribe? And I owe it to everybody that's in my tribe to be able to do that. And I think, that's kind of where I'm at. I can do it anywhere. If I have to, if we're traveling or on vacation, anywhere Sunday morning, 7:00. Alone, leave me alone. I don't need anything except my mind. Sometimes a pad of paper. I try not to bring technology in because I get sidetracked. I'm like, squirrel, somewhere off into there. But take a pad of paper and whatever flows.
Oh, I love that. So good. Okay, great. Well, this was amazing, and I will not take any more time from your ladies' days, but if you don't mind sharing with our followers today, tell me a little bit about where these awesome community members can find you on social media so that they can follow you and be a part of your communities as well.
you can find me on LinkedIn, just Julie Marquis on LinkedIn, and both Michele and I are EOS implementers. So if you go to the EOS Worldwide website, you can type in Julie Marquis and you will find me, Marke. It's not spelled like the diamond, but it sounds like the diamond. So there you go.
Yeah, and then each of us too, from there, you'll launch into our individual microsites too. So we have sites that are a little bit about us. But the beauty of EOS is, it's Julie's and I the difference, right? It's what we bring to the session room. EOS is a great structure, a great system, kind of what we've been talking about today. And so same thing, LinkedIn, and then that microsite for EOS is or the site for EOS is great, and you'll find us there. So, but I'm on LinkedIn as well, Michele Millard. Michele is with one L. So Michele, and then Millard, Mollard. If you find it's a guy, that's a gentleman in France that has the exact same spelling as I do. So everyone's like, well, it's a guy. I'm like, that's not me. So really? I'm clearly a female. Those of you listening might be a little shocked, but those that are visual, you probably can see that I'm just a girl.
I will say one more thing too, if you don't mind, Kat.
Yeah.
I also write a blog post called Cooped Up Thoughts, and it's about my journey to become a proficient chicken mama. And I tie it to EOS. So if you want a little bit of fun and a little bit about EOS, you can reach out to me on my LinkedIn page, send me an email, and I'll add you to the list. So
I love that. That's fantastic. I have a lot of women in my tribe that are into chickens, and they're just so damn. So I love that. I love that you guys all do it, because my everybody eats the eggs, but I can't do the chicken. So it's so good. All right. Thank you so much for being on the Oxygen Podcast. And I will wish you a very happy Women in Business Month. And I hope that you have a fantastic day today. Thanks for joining us.
thank you.
Thanks for having us.